Changes are coming to the Canadian Football League. Over the next 2 seasons, we're going to see a different field of play. We'll see them literally moving the goalposts, among other things. The league says this will all make the game more entertaining, will bring many more touchdowns. But there are purists who aren't happy. And they're telling Thomas Dagg this morning they see the new style as a move away from the CFL's Canadian identity.
Canadian football is set to look a little more American, with the CFL announcing adjustments, bringing the league more in line
Touchdown, first of the day, and the Niners lead
with its mega-popular rival, the NFL.
These types of idiosyncrasies have been in our game for a long time, but that doesn't have to be the case.
The changes will mean the CFL playing field gets shorter, down to 100 yards in length, just like the NFL. The end zones will be cut from 20 to 15 yards, but the Canadian field keeps its unique width, still 65 yards and wider than in the American game.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns and referee on the night.
The most visible change, though, comes to CFL goalposts, soon moved to the back of the end zone, just like south of the border.
To what extent are these changes due to the popularity of the NFL in Canada?
Absolutely no percentage of these changes were made because of any type of comparison to the NFL.
You don't want to just stand still and become stagnant, right? And so they're making changes that will augment the league.
Canadian gridiron purists took to social media, declaring tradition was just thrown out the window, and what made the CFL unique is no more.
It Americanizes the game. We're converging. You can see that the stage is being set for further convergence with American leagues.
Even the uniquely Canadian single point rouge will see changes, making it less likely. All of it intended to drive a more exciting game that now often appeals to an aging audience.
And it's changed that if this league is to remain relevant, particularly with Gen Zs, it has to do this.
The tweaks won't come into effect this year, but will be phased in by 2027. The league expects the changes to the goalpost alone will lead to an extra 60 touchdowns per season. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Toronto.
There's a lot to talk about in Thomas's report, so let's do that with Paul Woods this morning, a longtime sports writer, a Canadian football historian, and the author of Year of the Rocket. Paul's in Burlington, Ontario. Welcome to our show, Paul.
Thank you for having me, Heather. Nice to be here.
Well, it's nice to have. There are many people on my morning team who are very big fans of the Canadian game, and they're very keen to know what you have to say today. So let's jump right in. You've been calling for rule changes in the CFL for years now, and I'm wondering now that they've come, what do you think of them overall?
Well, I'm actually thrilled about at least 2 of them. The change to the clock rules, the way that the way time will play out from one play to the next, is one that I've been wanting for a long time. I think the league has gotten into a mode where too much time gets wasted, and we go to football games to watch great players make great plays. This change, I believe, will allow us to see more great plays made by great players. And I think the change to the rouge, the kicking points rule, also will make things better. The goalposts are going to help. I think they're going to make it more likely that teams will try to score touchdowns than field goals. Overall, I'm very pumped about the changes. I think they've done the right things.
I can hear. Let's talk a little bit about some of those in more detail in a second. But do you think, as Thomas said in his report, and as the commissioner was clear, the goal is to make this more exciting? Will that have the net effect?
I believe it will, absolutely.
Okay. Well, with 60 more touchdowns, it certainly might. So let's delve into the ones that you say they like the most, because there are a few of them. That 35-second clock, if you remove the referee discretion, it changes things a lot?
Yeah, I mean, the CFL was known for years for having a 20-second clock. It still does. And for many fans, that was a point of pride and a source of belief that the CFL moved quicker than the American game. But what's happened is that as rosters expanded and coaches wanted to be able to put more players on the field from one play to the next, getting substitutions, it left the job of starting the 20-second clock to the discretion of the referee. And it is not at all uncommon for there to be 30, 35, 40, sometimes even 45 seconds of elapsed time off the game clock from the end of one play to the start of the next. This will compress that down to 35 seconds and take away the discretion of the referee. And I think it's going to lead to about 5 to 10 more plays per game.
Okay, again, more action, more excitement. With the change to the Rouge, not a complete elimination, but a modification of this, a lot of people are cheering this, that used to be, they saw it as a reward for failure. That's gone, do you think?
Yeah, they've gotten rid of the reward for failure for sure, and that was a problem, I think, in many people's eyes. You could theoretically have won the Grey Cup by failing on what you were trying to accomplish. You go out to try to kick a field goal on the last play of the game. You miss the field goal, but you still get a point. Some people call it the loser point, and it ends up being the thing that wins you the game. So this will change that. They're still keeping the Rouge as a thing. You can still score a point by kicking the ball into the end zone if the other team doesn't bring it out. So they've modified it. I'd like to see a little further tweak to that, just so that we don't watch teams letting the ball roll through the back of the end zone to avoid a point being scored. But overall, I'm happy with that change. I think it eliminates a source of potential embarrassment. And I've seen teams win games by missing a field goal, and it just seems wrong. You failed to do the thing you wanted to do, and yet you got rewarded for it.
Moving the field goal, moving the goalpost to the back of the end zones, that's going to, as you just said, those who might be inclined to kick field goals may be less inclined to do so. And they're talking about how this will lead to, that's the point that Thomas made, 60 more touchdowns a season. So if we put that aside for a second, all of these changes together, and there's more, the dimension of the field, for example, there are some, and Thomas spoke to some. There have been other voices, including Canadian quarterback in the league for the BC Lions, Nathan Rourke. He called the changes garbage. He was incensed, and many are. They see this as being a move toward an Americanized game. What do you think of that criticism, Paul?
I certainly understand it. I mean, the differences between the Canadian football and American football have long been a source of pride and joy for fans of the Canadian game. My friend and colleague Stephen Brunt calls it the Church of Canadian Football. That you can't change, you can't muck with the rules. But the reality is, the CFL is in the entertainment business, and they're kind of losing the battle. I mean, we're not exactly blowing the doors off many of the stadiums. There's two very successful franchises on the prairies, and then there's 9 other ones that either don't make money or don't make very much money. So we've still maintained these changes don't eliminate 3 downs, 12 men on the field, the wide field, the Rouge, a thing called the waggle that allows you to run towards the line of scrimmage before the ball is snapped, which is a huge difference against American football. All of those things are still there. I don't believe this is Americanizing the sport. I think it's making the sport more entertaining and reaching out potentially to fans that don't pay much attention to it, because if it becomes an entertaining spectacle, people will want to be there. And having that field shrunk a little bit is also going to open up potentially party zones in the end zones, and there's one thing that has been growth area in Canadian football in the last few years. It's putting young people at the game, not necessarily to watch the game, but to party with their friends. And what better place to party with your friends than on the field behind the end zones, which will now be expanded.
Oh, that's a good point. The whole entertainment experience, whether or not you're paying attention to what's going on in the game. Do you think, though, that this is sort of a step in an inexorable process toward an American-style game, or even to 4 downs in Canada, or, coming in down the line with the NFL? A lot of fearmongers about that, too. What do you think long-term, Paul?
Well, interestingly enough, Stuart Johnston was asked, could you rule out 4 downs, and he would not do that. And I think it is possible. I mean, my attitude basically is this: I'm an Argo seasons ticket holder. I want to watch the Argos play for the rest of my life. I want to watch football played in Toronto for the rest of my life. If the only way that can happen is to Americanize it, then I'll be okay with that. I don't think it's going to have to come to that. I do think you can make the CFL a more entertaining product than the NFL, as it once was, say, 30, 40 years ago, before the NFL stole a lot of the CFL's best ideas and started implementing them. So if these changes are a step towards that, I think that they won't have to go any farther. If even after making these changes, the business still struggles a little bit at the gate and so on, it could be that we move to the next step, which would be maybe making it 4 men or 4 downs and 11 men and all that. I think we're a long way away from that. And frankly, I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Well, that'll be a big statement leaving many fans feeling relieved this morning. Paul, what a pleasure to talk to you. Come back. We'll have to talk football another time. Grey Cup not too far away. We'll talk more about it. Really enjoyed it. Paul Woods in Burlington, Ontario on the CFL changes. And this is CBC Morning Live.